Hey everyone. Okay, so this chapter covers the confrontation with the lab guys, and it's here where we get introduced to who I assume is one of the main antagonists of the arc, Seba, who in himself gives us a more complete picture of the lab's experiments and how it's not just clairvoyance that the lab was experimenting with, but all manner of powers you could think of that would be useful to an assassin, as Seba, as we see in the chapter, has the ability to become invisible. And although Taro dealt with him very handedly, despite his ability, it's one of those things that begs the question: just what kind of experiments have they been running in this place, known as the lab? Because right now, the one of the biggest danger factors in with the lab right now in this arc that's being established is the is how unpredict is the unpredictability of just what kind of powers we can expect from anyone who's been experimented on in this place. Although I do gotta say, the reveal that the lab is located in the basement of a museum is kind of the funniest part of the chapter to me, because that's the kind of thing that oozes cartoon villain evil lair kind of energy. Although in this case, the villains are probably a lot less cartoonish and more cunning than your average Saturday morning cartoon villain. And and the fact that Shin has and the thing as well is that the fact that Shin has chosen to pursue this despite the lab technically failing to capture him, yeah, this feels like a trap from jump. Like there's some the biggest question out of all this is why they want Shin. One of the more one of the more interesting things as well, though, is the way Shin describes his experiences with the lab, and how something apparently has definitely changed about their way that they're conducting their operations, at least according to him. Because as the way he tells it, during his time in the lab, it was actually a pretty a pretty decent experience. Like the scientists who worked there at the time were a bunch of weirdos and kooks, but never violent, never actively like doing things that would be considered unlawful or just downright cruel in terms of experiments. The whole thing of kidnapping Lou with their target being Shin, it's all a new development, which could also mean a change in leadership. And the fact that they were after Shin specifically does indicate there's a personal connection going on here. And usually that means, and whenever there's a personal connection, that usually means families involved, whether directly or indirectly. So, yeah, this promises to be a fun ride if that's the case. Now, I'm kind of going off topic with this next point, but I've, like I said, I do have, as I said in my community post, I do have plans in order to review the anime. Now, one thing that's I've been thinking about always in the back of my head is how much the anime will adapt in how much the anime is going to adapt of this manga, and with the and especially with the likely probably 24 episodes between part 1 and 2. And for me personally, the way things are developing in this current arc, I think it is most likely the lab arc is going to be the stopping point of the anime. The only thing that does kind of befuddle me a little bit, though, in believing that the anime is going to stop at the lab arc, is that a Seiyu has been casted for a certain character that I've been introduced to already, but doesn't have a speaking role until a couple chapters after this arc, unless they somehow manage to fit the lab arc into Core 1 and take the entirety of Core 2 around the very specific arc around the arc after the lab arc. It's the and if it's the latter, then yeah, I'm gonna need to more strategically plan out how I handle reviewing the anime and manga simultaneously. Although the saving grace being that there's a pretty big gap of time between when Core 1 ends and Core 2 begins. So at least there's that, I suppose. Uh, with that said, there's an interesting little side plot with this chapter, which is while Shin and Taro are dealing with the lab and trying to get Lou back, we see Heisuke hanging out with Aoi and kind of helping, and just kind of, I guess, trying, like, playing with her and helping her, supposedly trying to find the others. So Yeah, that in itself is already kind of setting up their involvement in this story. Now, when Heisuke finds out what's going on, I have to believe he isn't stupid enough to get Aoi directly involved in this mess, and will like find a way to distract her while he goes to help Taro and Shin. Shin probably asking her to get help from the police or something. Because the other interesting thing about this side plot to me is that it does feel like Heisuke has kind of stumbled into a sort of test of trust without even knowing it, and how with the idea that even though he's not really an employee just yet, the end of this arc we'll probably see him being offered a job for taking care of Aoi. That's kind of, again, it's that's kind of how I'm viewing how this thing is playing out right now. But we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. I'm on Twitter. Follow me on Blue Sky, Analyst, Crunchyroll. Be sure to notification bell, the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of a Night signing off. Later, everyone.